Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Same as Chris, to be honest, I'm going to have to read my speech because I can't remember it, but here goes. Anyone? I'm told my speech has to be 10 minutes long, but I'm no Shakespeare, so you may have to bear with me whilst we just sit in silence for 5 minutes. Anyway, I'll try to be as quick as possible so we can all dig into some food. I think I know most of you in this room, but for those of you who don't know me, I'm David and Chris's younger brother, and I have the pleasure of being his best man today. However, Chris didn't have an easy decision in choosing his best man. So first he called his most charming friend, and he said no. Second, he called his most trusted friend, and he said no. Then he asked his most good-looking friend, and he also said no. Then he called me, and I said, Chris, I can't say no to you 4 times. So let me tell you about my relationship with Chris. I met Chris way back in the mid-90s. We met on the 11th of July 1995, which is also known in some circles as the greatest day in human history. I'll be honest though, I don't really remember that time well. I was going through a lot at that time. Growing up, I learned a lot from Chris though, although most of that was what not to do. We were both very competitive and always arguing growing up, whether that was football, who was better at Beyblades, who had the best Pokemon cards, who was the fastest, who could control the TV remote, or even who would blame who on eating mum's cake that she just made. Our dad unfortunately brought us up to be Oxonite football fans. Yeah. Taking us to every game every other weekend, to our mum's dismay. Chris was so committed to the club, he decided it was a good idea to get his braces the colour of the team's kit, yellow and blue. Probably the only person I know happy to have yellow teeth. And then when Chris and Lizzie moved in together, he used his influence to somehow, their first big purchase was matching sofa and cushions in, you guessed it, yellow and blue. But as Chris has already alluded to, he is known for his forward planning and made a major error in planning their wedding for the weekend of the League One playoff final, which is at Wembley. However, I won't mention which of those Wembley wedding is more important to me, but it begins with W. Chris has a habit of getting heavily invested in any hobby that crosses his path. And one of his many hobbies was cycling, which he has spent thousands of hours and pounds making his bikes lighter, faster, whilst filling our parents' garage with all of his bikes and equipment. I originally started cycling with him as well, but realised I was too slow for him, so I gave up as well. But he's pedalled his way all over the country, even venturing as far as France. And during lockdown, rumour has it, when we couldn't go outside, he even conquered the Tour de Bedroom on his exercise bike. However, that exercise bike made an absolute racket in the house, which when he announced that he was moving out with Lizzie, I was very relieved. Of course, I can't forget to mention his beard that he's always playing around with. It also gives him a striking resemblance to a certain character from a movie called The Hangover. So for his stag do, we decided to dress him up as Alan. Alan! Thank you, Carlos. But for those of you who haven't seen the movie, come see me later and I can show you a picture of him. Also, as mentioned, Chris has amazing knowledge of wine, which he learned whilst working at the Oxford University, spending his time in the wine cellars. And by all accounts, his job is essentially a dream for a wine lover like Chris. So it's no surprise he's worked there for half his life. Chris has come a long way though since he was a kid. First of all, he had the knack of throwing up over family members. Next, the psychotic phase of cutting up fluffy toys with his scissors. And then blaming it on me.
Oh no.
And then later on his teenage And then later on in his teenage years, the first time he drank alcohol out with his friends. When he attempted to come home, he was unable to open the front door with his key. Although he still has a habit of leaving items in places on nights out, such as the time when he left his wallet at a kebab van, and more recently his phone on the night bus back from Oxford, which Lizee had to rescue at 4 a.m. to pick the phone up. So if any of you find a phone tonight, it's probably Chris's. But seriously, Chris, you're somebody that many people count themselves lucky to have in their lives, with your laid-back attitude and your calm approach to everything. And I really couldn't ask for a better brother. Generally lucky to call you a friend as well as a brother. Thank you. Yeah, as mentioned, Chris and Lizee met just after the COVID lockdown. So when Chris first said to me he was seeing someone, he was ecstatic to finally meet someone that he could bond over his love of music, food and drinking. And he said to me, "She's perfect, there's just one issue." I said, "What's that, Chris?" He said, "She's got the same name as Mum." Can't get confused. Not only that, Lizee's an events manager. So essentially he found someone to plan his own life, and more importantly, his own wedding. And I have to say, they've both done an amazing job of that, to be fair. It's been an unbelievable day so far. It was never in doubt with Lizee's incredible life of detail, and that and the massive itinerary that she sent me earlier this week. But Lizee, you look absolutely wonderful today. We've had some really good times over the last 4 years, from nights out to dodgy karaoke renditions and music festivals, where at one festival Lizee finally got to see one of her favourite artists, Sam Fender. But they'll have to go see him again, as Chris decided to spend most of the performance sitting on the floor. But in all seriousness though, getting to know Lizee has been an absolute blast, and it's evident how much joy she brings to Chris. She always brings fun and energy to the room, and it's certainly never a dull moment with her, so I'm pleased to officially welcome you to the family as my sister. You both make a great couple, and I know how happy you make each other. You complement each other perfectly, and I and everyone in this room is truly grateful for being part of this day today. That's me done now. So to complete my speech, could you all join me in a 5-minute silence, please?
Well done.
Yeah, that's all for me now. So if everyone could join me in raising their glasses, if they can, stand. To the new Mr. and Mrs. Holstock.
Good, relieved. Thank you. That's right.